What is up? This is TJ Murphy, and welcome to another episode of Adventurous Entrepreneurs. My guest today is a new friend, Brandon Guthrie. Brandon is the founder and owner of Dream Design Labs, a California-based digital marketing agency that helps premium kingdom-driven residential contractors scale from 7 figures to 8 figures, empowering them with the influence they need to make a positive impact on their community and the world at large. In this episode, Brandon shares what it was like to come back from the verge of death and a 5-day coma, to creating early success as a digital marketer and using his fast profits to rent Lamborghinis and fancy bachelor pads. When his beginner's luck inevitably ran out, he lost everything and was forced to move back in with his parents. Aware of what was possible and armed with the valuable lesson in humility, Brandon shifted his focus away from personal gain to an obsessive drive to master the craft of digital marketing and deliver undeniable value to his clients. So without further ado, please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Brandon Guthrie. Welcome to the Adventurous Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, TJ Murphy. Since quitting my corporate 9-to-5 and starting a business while backpacking through Asia back in early 2017, I've had the privilege of learning from some incredibly adventurous entrepreneurs. Through these conversations and my own journey, I've learned that much like in life, entrepreneurship is an adventure. On this podcast, I explore the journeys of top-performing leaders in their fields. These wide-ranging conversations include tactical business advice, how I built this insights, lessons in leadership, life hacks, travel stories, favorite hobbies, and insights into living a purposeful and joy-filled life. Adventures await us, so let's dive in. Hey, Brandon. Welcome to Adventurous Entrepreneurs.
What's up? It's fantastic to be here.
Yes, sir, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I had a blast joining you on your podcast, the Christian Contractors podcast, a few weeks ago. And dude, I've been looking forward to continuing the conversation and learning more about your journey as an entrepreneur. You have quite the story to tell. So let's dive into it, man. What was your life like leading up to you starting your first business, and how have things unfolded since then?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on our podcast as well. And, adventurous entrepreneurs. So it's all about stories. It's all about journey. So yeah, man, I can jump in here, and I always like to start my story off kind of at this point. In 2006, San Bernardino, California, racing motocross at the world famous Glen Helen Raceway. There I am, boom, I'm on the bike, CRF 250R. Adrenaline's pumping, blood's rushing, grew up racing motocross. So this is like the best thing ever. I was there with my dad, with my pops, friends. It was all great times. And I'm actually in my last moto of the day, and everything's going good, hammering down, having fun. And then the worst happened. And so I got cross-rutted on the face of a jump, I think. This is
explain to us what that means for people that aren't familiar.
Cross-rutted means so when you on the face of a dirt bike jump, because there's so many bikes going over that jump, eventually a bunch of grooves get carved into the face, and before you know it, it's just like a bunch of slots. And really professionals go over that stuff like it's not even there, but like everyone else is like deathly scared of those, because you can easily get cross-rutted, which means you get one wheel in the one and the back wheel in another. Ooh. And you go off the face of the jump basically like sideways.
Yikes.
So up in the air, sideways. And the reason I know somewhat that's what happened is because my dad was across the racetrack, saw me in there sideways, and then he could only see me in the air and saw me go away. And basically next thing he knows, first responders are like rushing over to where I had just landed. So turns out I slammed sideways and basically slingshot style my head straight into the dirt. Luckily, I had a helmet on, definitely saved my life.
Yeah.
And I was knocked out cold. First responders trying to wake me up, shaking my body, just like unresponsive. So, and it's so bad that okay, we got to helicopter this guy out of the racetrack. So they call a helicopter. Helicopter lands down. They load me up, fly out over to the closest hospital that they could rush me to. I get there. I have then about shoulder length hair at that time, and they shaved my head. They drilled a hole into my skull, and they put a tube in my head because there was internal bleeding. And I was induced into a coma. And so everyone always asks, like, oh, did you see the light? And pretty much if it's like, for me, it was like going to sleep and then just waking up. One of those nights where you don't have a dream, maybe you can compare it to.
Yeah.
It was just like that for me. And I was in a coma for 5 days, and I don't remember anything for 2 weeks because I had for sure my brain had taken a beating. So my short-term memory was like on the fritz, and I couldn't remember like a full day. So, and rewind real quick, up to this point, I grew up racing motocross. I had a passion for design and graphics and epic marketing and branding. And I was like aspirations to be a professional racer and an entrepreneur. And now I'm in the hospital, and now I find out I can barely walk. I can barely function have my body function the way I want it to function. And I'm like, man, I'll be lucky if I be able to be just a normal human again, let alone professional racer, entrepreneur. And a lot of crazy thoughts went through my mind. And I ended up, the hospital became my new residence for the next 2 months. PT, physical therapy. I remember one time one of the nurses was like, okay, you're going to try to throw this basketball into that kiddie hoop. Like it's like 5 feet away, and let's see if you could do it. And I was kind of like, what? That's of course I can make that. It's like a kiddie hoop.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, go do it. And then so I got the ball and I tried to throw it, and dude, it freaking landed like halfway, like 2 feet, and the hoop was like 5 feet away. And I was like, oh snap. I was like, this is bad. After 2 months, they released me from the hospital, and they said, hey, you have to be on house arrest for the next month because you have a high likelihood of having a seizure.
Oh man.
So so I was at home for a month, and luckily I had some friends come by and visit me while I was there. And just like but it was gnarly. But right then and there, you're like, dude, is like, what's my life going to be like? Like, am I going to ever be able to amount to anything?
Yeah. Major turning point.
So, but luckily what motocross had taught me was I had a lot of discipline and perseverance that I learned through athletics, through really aspiring to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And so I did not give up by any means.
You know how to work hard.
Exactly. So first thing I hit up the doctor. I was like, so I feel bad now looking back for my parents. I said, so the doctor, I was like, so how soon until I can get back on the bike? So I barely have motor skills at this point, but I'm already like locked in on, like, I know what I want. This is what I'm going to go for.
You have the vision. I'm getting back on the bike.
Getting back. So he's like, at least a year. So I'm like, okay. Well, if I can't race at the track, I'm still going to go. So what I did, And shout out to Ryan Andreka and Alex Arnett, my good buddies back then. We like partnered up to create Motivate Media. And basically we bought a little camera. We bought a DSLR. It was a Canon 60D at that time. And what we did was we would go to the racetrack and we would interview professional racers. And since I had all this time off, right? So I have a year off, I'm still going to the track. I'm like, might as well do something during this time. So we start shooting these videos. And since I have downtime, I go and I learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and I build my own website from like straight up Notepad, like expert level. Like I start Halo on the expert level, you know. I don't, for people that don't know what that means, like creating a website from Notepad is very, very difficult compared to creating a website using like a code helper builder software or like Dreamweaver or something like that, where it makes your life really easy. So I built my own website for Motivate Media. I interviewed the professional racers. I put the interviews on the website and I put Google AdSense on the website. So I would be able to get paid by the people that come to visit and watch the professional racer interviews.
Smart
so
man.
It started to work. I started to make some money and previously before my accident, I had fallen in love with Photoshop, Illustrator, design. Had started printing t-shirts, selling t-shirts. I had created a clothing line called Impulse Clothing, and I was like selling it at high school and selling it just wherever I could, and it was good stuff. And basically, so I built my own website, and I'm like, okay, this is good for me. And then one day, somebody sees my website and they're like, hey, did you build that website? I was like, yeah, I did that. And
It's all me.
He's like, oh, could you build me a website? I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, cool, I'll give you $300. And I was like, sick, that's a lot of money. And I took $300 and I built my first website and had my first client. I was like, what? For web design. And previously I was into graphic design, and I was like trying to see if I could potentially make a living with graphic design, you know, logo design, all that good stuff, which is amazing. It's good stuff, but you know, you get paid like $100 to spend like a lot of time, $200. If you're really crazy, I mean, I've heard people charging a lot more for sure, but that's what I was making. But when you build a website, I looked it up. I was like, oh, you can charge thousands for a website. You're designing, it's similar to designing like a flyer or something like that, but it's interactive.
Yep.
And just because of that, it's now worth thousands of dollars rather than hundreds of dollars. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I got my first client basically, right? And from there, kind of, I developed into landing like graphic design jobs, marketing positions at like local businesses. And in 2014, I was working as a marketing manager at a national barbecue brand, which I was blessed and landed that job. Amazing company, amazing people. It was like seriously the best situation ever. But I still knew deep down inside, like there's something more than this. And I went to the owner once my income from my business equated the income from my company, from my job.
Yep.
I went to the owner of the business and I was like, hey man, like seriously, no hard feelings, but like I got bigger calling, you know? And he was like, all right,
ahead of me.
Yeah, 100%. And he's like, all right. You know, I get it, man. Like he started his business, right? So
he's like, I see you. Go chase it.
That's right. And so I quit my day job, went all into my business. 2014, I had so I was building websites, doing web design, web development, and you know, I would charge $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 if I was really lucky. So one of the bigger ones I ever got to was like charging like $15K. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And I went all into my business. I was like, yes, I'm making money. I'm just got a pad by the beach. So now I got a pad by the beach down too close to the downtown area, which leads to the next part of the story.
Yeah.
And what enticed me about being an entrepreneur in the beginning was the private jets and the Lambos and all that stuff. And now looking back, like I hate that is the thing that attracts people into being an entrepreneur. At least it was for me. And because what happened next was I made it all about like trying to live this good life.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, cool. I'm like this cool guy. I'm making money. I own my own business. I make my own hours. I'm going to put a bunch of barriers between me and my clients. I read the 4-Hour Work Week. Don't ever read that book when you're first getting into business. Yeah. Do not listen to that framework. Basically talks about like putting every barrier between you and your clients that you possibly can to give you your time back. But if you're just starting,
not the best move.
Oh no, that's the best move.
You need that feedback.
Yeah, you need that personal connection, feedback, build up that case study, like really lock arms. So what happens next is I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna live the good life, my good life. It's all about me making money, putting up barriers. I make my own hours. I don't answer anyone when they try to call me. And I started going out and getting drinks with the boys, right? Yeah. And first it's 1 night a week. Then it's 2 nights, then it's 3, then it's 4, 5, 6, 7. Before you know it, I was getting nearly blacked out drunk every single night. And it got super, super out of hand. I was even showing up to meetings intoxicated. I remember one time I almost fell asleep during a meeting because I had barely slept the night before. It was bad. And I forgot why I got into business in the first place. I was passionate about design. I was passionate about serving others. I was passionate about growing a business, creating something awesome and helping others. And I shifted it to like partying or like living like indulgence and being a consumer or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. About you at the end of the day.
Exactly. And that's where I went wrong. So I continue down this road and I even know it's getting out of hand, but I'm so out of my mind that I don't even care. And inevitably that led to me losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of all my clients, basically starting to leave because I'm just neglecting them, not answering their calls. I'm hungover. I'm like doing work in my bed while I'm hungover, and then like for an hour, and I'll go back to sleep. And I'll wake up for an hour, and then like do some more work, and then go back to sleep because I'm so hungover. So bad. And then obviously, what came next was I got the eviction notice. Boom. So eviction notice, I'm kicked out of my pad. I'm like not even knowing what's going on. I'm so out of my mind. And I'm then faced with the pain, humiliation, embarrassment of moving back into my parents' spare bedroom. Yeah. And when I landed in there and I sobered up and I finally got in my right mind, I was like, what just happened? It's like, I just lost everything. Like, what the heck? And right then and there at rock bottom, I had a sobering moment where I realized I needed to do 2 things. One, I needed to get my life right, back on track, that I believe that God had placed for me. God has plans to prosper us, not to harm us. And I knew that, and I was trying to take control and live my own good life rather than living what I believe to be God's life that he had for me. And then 2 was to learn how to market myself out of the hole that I was in.
Yeah.
So I hit the ground running. And I mean, the pain, humiliation, embarrassment was searing into my soul at this point. I mean, like embarrassed, like humiliated. I remember I posted something and like an old friend from high school was like, "Oh, are you living in your parents' basement or something?" And I saw it and dude, it killed me, dude. It killed me. Like it freaking killed me. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna operate on biblical principles this time, on God's path. So it killed me. So I went all in 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. I was reading every book I could get my hand on, taking every mentor I could out to lunch, watching YouTube videos till my eyes were bleeding. I was barely eating. I was barely sleeping. I was losing all my muscle mass. I was starting to become like scrawny, pale as paper, losing my hair. It was like I looked like
Wow.
freaking like Golem, like trying to learn how to market myself out of this hole.
One extreme to the other.
Dude, 100%. And I remember my then girlfriend, now wife, her stepdad was like, what's wrong with Brandon? He's like, is he okay? Because I literally physically was like that visually different, And the point was, is like I was just grinding, and I mean, like nothing else mattered. Nothing else mattered except for getting myself out of this hole that I had gotten myself into, but this time on a firm foundation, operating with Christ in my heart, and on biblical principles. I could go, that's a whole other podcast. But so I kick, I scream, I cry, I try every single thing I can. I fail a ton. I fail. No light at the end of the tunnel. Keep going. No light at the end of the tunnel. Keep going. I always say it was like I felt, this is how I describe it, and I feel like it's pretty accurate, that I felt like like I was being dragged across hot coals and broken glass and waterboarded every single day. I know it's pretty gnarly.
It is.
And I don't want to bring anyone's mood down, but that's what it felt like. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. That's why I want to bring it to the light, because some people feel that way right now, that may listen to this, and they feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I promise you, if you just keep pushing, you will get there. There's a human fallacy. We think when things are good, that they're going to be good forever. And when things are bad, that they're going to be bad forever. Both are wrong. Things go like this, right?
Yeah, comes in waves.
So I kept pushing. I didn't give up. Luckily, I had that discipline and that tenacity and that perseverance that I got from being an athlete. And I kept pushing. Finally had like a chance to try to run. Like I finally got my first like potential ad campaign to get to work. It was a motorcycle dealership, and it was actually funny, and I'll share this video if anyone wants to see it. But I shot my first Facebook ad ever. And what I did, still living in my parents' house. And what I did was I tried to copy the Dollar Shave Club ad for a motorcycle dealership.
Nice.
So many people have since. And it was horrible. But I gave the camera I had to the sales guy with shaky hands, no audio equipment. It's just like the mic on the camera from like 20 feet away. So they barely hear me. And there's some funny things going on. And so I run these ads, and I'm like, okay, God, please work. And we get leads. We spend $2,400 and we generate $24,000 in sales.
Boom.
And I was like, dude, this is awesome. This is it. Like, I'm going to be able to scale myself out of this hole. And because I was so new, I was like, I was very scrappy. I wasn't able to do a good job at articulating that this money came from this source. So I'm like telling the business owner, hey, look, like this is working. This is awesome. And I'm like, finally, I did it. And he can't see it or whatever. And cut off, back
to zero.
Back to zero, dude. So I keep pushing, I keep trying, I keep doing everything, man. Once again, no light at the end of the tunnel. And eventually, it just kept going. And one person introduced me to someone else, and I actually landed a good account, and things actually started to work for me. And then so I started to have a little bit of success. I had like one client that was doing like halfway decent, and they were actually paying a decent retainer. And I was like, oh my, yes, 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 yes.
Let's go.
And I thought back and I was like every other car at the racetrack was either a roofer, an HVAC guy, or a plumber. Right. So these guys are like my people. Like they see me on a dirt bike, they're gonna be like, oh, that guy's cool, because they're off-road guys. They got Can-Ams, they got trucks, they got Banshees, they got all those things, sand rails. They're in Glamis. They're all in Glamis. All those guys are in Glamis. And I'm like, this is working over here, but I think that I would have a lot better chance of success over here. So I connected with a friend of mine from the off-road world, and I'm like, hey, like let's partner on, let me help your business grow, give me a percentage and we're gonna blow this up. So I took everything I had learned up to that point and I was like, okay, I haven't ever been able to like truly apply these principles, and now's the time. Like I'm gonna be able to fully apply everything into this opportunity. So the famous last words that he had was, scared money don't make money. And we pulled the trigger, hit the go button, and fast forward to 2020, we landed our 2 Coma Club Award, which is $1 million through a single funnel. And we actually did 4 million that year. And then we landed the 2 Coma X Club Award, which is $10 million through a single funnel, on pace for the 25 million now next year. And even more important than all those like awards and accolades and achievements have been amazing. But what honestly was the most important thing out of the whole journey was the person that I was forced to become through hitting that rock bottom. I'm so glad that I started making it all about serving others than serving myself. And now I'm so fulfilled and rewarded by being able to give people opportunities, for one, in my company, and then serve my clients. I mean, like I know that client in particular, or multiple clients, their lives are impacted forever. Like now they're going to be able, their families are blessed forever. Like their legacy instantly changed forever. And what a positive impact that is. And that has been the most rewarding thing of all. Then the awards or the revenue we've been able to generate. And everyone always asks, like, okay, so what did it? You skipped over a lot of parts there. What's the secret? What's the secret sauce?
What's the sauce?
So I always say, well, through all of that, there is 3 things that I always say that really got us there. The 3 key components, like 3 takeaways. And so 1 is ads, 2 funnels, 3 automation. You already know all about this, TJ, and a lot of people already do. But for the ones that don't,
share the knowledge, bro.
This is like spreading the gospel. This is like spreading the good news right here. There's so many people still that don't know about this stuff. It's like, how is that possible? But we're just in our bubble, and I think that it can feel like everyone knows it, but everyone doesn't. So the key takeaway that I would, if I was going to give a few gold nuggets real quick, would be number 1 with ads. What we found has worked best for us, rather than running ads about, hey, we're really awesome, hey, you should buy from us, hey, we're licensed, bonded, insured, family owned and operated, we're cool, we're awesome. Instead, run ads based on curiosity. So getting people to dip their toe in the water, leveraging the commitment consistency bias, which is a human psychological fallacy, where when you start something, you want to end it. You want to close the loop. So when you get once micro commitment, you can continue to get further commitments. And that's where the funnel comes in. So I like to call it the slippery slide of the funnel. When you get people in through the first 25% of your funnel, there's no stopping. They're just going to keep sliding down the rest of the funnel.
You got them.
You got them. And then lastly is automation. So automation, automate text, email, ringless voicemail. And one thing that I feel like I've been one of the earlier people on to do this, and we've all seen it, but are you doing it? To text message videos to your new leads or whatever it is that you're doing, where it's a little video of your appointment setter or the business owner saying, hey, what's up? I appreciate you very much for filling out that form right now. I personally, Amanda or whoever, I'm going to be personally reaching out to you here in the next few minutes. I look forward to speaking with you. And building that human connection and rapport instantly with leads as soon as they come in or whatever it is that you're running ads for. And I kind of skipped over on the ads portion. With the ads portion, what we're doing that we're really seeing good results with is we're sprinkling in how can we make our creative different than everyone else's? Because everyone's creative on Facebook ads, Instagram, TikTok looks the same. It's like it's almost like they joined a program and all 800 students are using the same ad, right?
We know it to be true in some cases.
some cases. So what we do is we use actors and we sprinkle in humor. So now you're different than everybody. You have a higher click-through rate. You have people that are more receptive because they're chuckling at your little stupid ad and they're clicking the link. So those are the main tactical takeaways that I would say have made a big difference. And then mindset, it's really about, dude, just serve others before serving yourself and just keep going even when the going gets tough. And when you see no light at the tunnel, especially when you see no light at the end of the tunnel, that's when you're either going to rise to the top or not. And those are my
time to double down.
My nuggets. So
yeah, man.
there it is.
I mean, you've had some insane experiences. I mean, talk about from literally being on the verge of death. Grateful that you're here with us. It's a blessing. And I mean, clearly some life-changing moments from that to coming back up to a peak and then screwing it up for yourself and coming back down to rock bottom and then figuring out through sheer tenacity how to climb and build the life that you wanted to. And something that really stood out to me about your story is how you've really gone through a tremendous transformation and not just a personal transformation or, a personal gain transformation, but really figuring out how you wanted to fulfill your true identity. And I know for me personally, this is not always easy. Living up to my true identity. I have bad days. I have moments where I succumb to temptations or bad habits. It's not easy. And I think, most of us can relate to that. But what have you found to be true for yourself in terms of sticking to that and realizing the fulfillment of your true identity at this point in your life today?
How do I stay true to myself, my true identity?
Yeah. I mean, do you have any like practices or things that you think about or fall back on when, the going gets tough?
Going gets tough. Yes. 100%. This is a great one. I actually asked a professional basketball player, an NFL player, last week at that conference. That's like my number one question. That's my number one question for everybody, honestly. How do you handle the tough times? That's all that matters. If you can overcome the tough times, you can do anything. Yeah, pretty much it, right?
Just got to persevere.
So for me, when the times get really tough, which it's gonna happen, it's we all, like I said, we go through ups and downs. It's how we deal with them. And for me, when the going gets tough, how do I persevere? For me, especially lately, and more and more as I grow with my relationship with God, is I pray. I pray, and I have a specific prayer that I always pray. I always say, I pray this every morning before I wake up, and I try to do it right before I grab my phone. It's like really hard. I'll grab my phone. I'm like, no, put it down.
Time to pray.
Put it down, because all the time I'll look at my phone and I'm like, oh dang it. But I pray this prayer. I say, Dear God, I pray I separate my flesh from my spirit, remove all selfishness, greed, pride, ego, fear, stress, anxiety, scarcity mindset, replace it with the calmness, peace, and abundance mindset of the Holy Spirit. I pray that I have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, goodness, and self-control, which is the fruit of the Holy Spirit. I pray that I would put on the full armor of God today, because the battle, spiritual warfare happens right up here. And you got to fight that battle, and you got to put on the full armor of God, which is helmet of salvation, breastplate of righteousness, belt of truth, shoes of peace, that your walk will match your talk, that you're not just saying a big talk, talking a big talk, but you're actually taking action. The shield of faith. So when you're getting stuff thrown at you, you can throw that faith that things are going to come, they're going to work out. And the sword of God, which is the word of God. That's memorizing scripture. Like without vision, the people shall perish. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. Wealth gained hastily is quickly dwindled, but little increased little by little will last. David and Goliath, the parable of the talents, which is a story about multiplying. You're given a little, and if you increase it, God is pleased. So not just sitting on your talents, but like multiplying and using them properly. And then I just say, I'm grateful for what's happened in the past, present, and future. And we are sons and daughters of the King and Creator of the universe. We have royal blood pumping through our veins. Let's start acting like it, right?
100%.
Put that chin up, puff out that chest, start acting like you're part of the royal family. Come on, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
And I always close out. It's biblical not to only speak in a framework. There needs to be a relationship and a conversation. So then I just end with, God, Jesus, like, tell me what you want me to do for you today. How can I serve you better? And I try to listen and discern and get that divine download. And I say, in Jesus' name I pray, amen. And dude, I do that as often as I possibly can. And when the going gets tough, I try to like separate myself from the problem. Yeah. I tried to pray that prayer and just have faith, you know? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to ritualize it, whether it's through prayer or some type of mindfulness practice, meditation, breath work, journaling, whatever it is that you need to do or that you find to be effective for keeping what you're putting up here in a positive light that isn't going to be a detriment or bring you down. It's just like anything. It's a habit. You've got to create it and ingrain it into your life so that when something does go wrong, uncertainty, complexity, a bad day, you got that to fall back on, and it's just second nature. And that's a beautiful way of doing it, man. And as we wrap things up here, I want to talk a little bit adventure. Like, you're an adventurous guy, clearly. Extreme sports, you enjoy what most people would consider to be pushing it to the limit with motocross, and you like to travel and explore. Heck, we met an exotic luxury conference in Costa Rica. And I'm curious to see or hear if you have any kind of habits or practices, ways of planning out your year, your month, that enable you to create more adventure in your life and do the things that really bring you the most joy, even though you've got a busy schedule. You run a business that's successful, and that takes a lot of time and commitment.
Yeah. And I'm always growing, of course, as far as like planning the year. I've really unlocked another level of travel literally just by getting in on the points game. I don't know if you guys know that or use credit cards that get you flight points. Because because the fact that I have points, even though let's say it doesn't cover the whole flight, it just opens that door. And since I've gotten onto that points game, dude, I've been flying everywhere. It's like awesome. And it's awesome, and it's unlocked so much amazingness and potential. As far as planning, I plan goals for my year, 1 year, 5-year goals. As far as travel plans, I haven't really gotten too far into like, oh, let me schedule my year, but I
But you
do.
travel a lot for work related stuff as well. So going to
Yeah.
conferences and things, which all have some level of adventure tied into them.
Yeah. The best is if you can tie them in together, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, dude, just, I love, you know, like I'll book as soon as I leave a conference, I'll buy the tickets for the next year. So I already know I got my whole next year is already planned out, to be honest,
Yeah.
because
That's
I
usually
bought.
when the tickets are going to be the cheapest. So it's a good way to go.
Yeah, man, just do that. And it opens up so many doors.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, like the credit card points is something that's, I think, undervalued. I mean, most people tap into it, but if you're a business owner, man, there are some insane credit cards out there. Like I just got, and this is not a plug, I'm not sponsored by them at all, but I got the Capital One Spark, I believe. And I think like you get something ridiculous. I got like $5,000 in like sign-on bonus when I hit like 50K in spending for the first 6 months. And it's just insane how much it racks up doing just my day-to-day business expenses, putting everything on the card, and it's got zero limit. And it's great. So check out credit cards. If you're putting everything through your checking account as a business owner, you're doing something wrong. You're leaving some money on the table.
100%, dude. It can open a whole new world for you.
Absolutely, man. Pay for some vacations at the very least. So, man, what challenge or parting advice do you have for our community before we wrap up? And I ask where people can find you online, socials, website, all that jazz.
Yeah, man. I have a heart out for people that are feeling stuck, and so I definitely want to spread the message of just like, don't give up. It's so cliche and so basic, but if you do anything long enough, you're gonna get good at it. Funny how that works.
Yeah, no, it's
So
true.
don't have shiny object syndrome. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep your head down. Do the dark work. Earn it. Even though you can't see a light at the end of the tunnel, I promise you it's there. So that's my advice for you guys. And then to find me, connect with me. Instagram is at BG44. That's Brandon Guthrie. 44 is my old race number. Still my forever race number, let's call it.
Yes, sir.
And then obviously at Dream Design Labs on Instagram as well. And I'd love to give you guys a free gift. Basically, just for tuning in to TJ's awesome podcast here, I'd love to give you guys a link where you can get our framework, how we're able to generate 8 figures in revenue. Just go to go.dreamdesignlabs.com/950K-30 days. So that's 950K-30 days. And on that link, you're going to be able to learn exactly how we were able to generate $950,000 in revenue in 30 days. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, man. And we'll put that all in the show notes. So make it easy for people to take advantage of that. I know I'll be checking it out as well. So Brandon, my man, thank you so much. This was a fun one, and it has been a pleasure and a privilege getting to know you since we first met a few months ago.
That's right, man. I still got to hold you accountable. We got goals to hit by December, and
yes, sir.
I'm booking my flight literally before we started this podcast. I almost hit the submit button. Gonna book it right after we hop off here. So
yeah,
I need to
do the same, man. And until then, I'll be following your journey closely and cheering for you every step of the way. So looking forward to linking up in Dallas here in a couple months, and then again in June for the Commitment Summit in Costa Rica. Should be a good time.
Boom. I love it, man. Talk soon.
All right, man. Really appreciate you sharing the value and your story. And thanks again for coming on the show.
You got it, man. Peace.
To all of our Adventurous listeners, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share this on social media or with someone you know will get some value from it. Leaving a review goes a long way in helping people find the show, and I personally appreciate reading them when they come in. So please go drop one if you have the time. We'll see you all next week, and remember, whether we're talking about business or the things that bring us joy outside of work, life is meant for exploring. So go out there and live it one adventure at a time.